So and that's what people flock around to get a part of and want to be a part of that. So I think that might be one thing to do, is just only focus on that. It does take a lot of energy to get on and go on the fly the way that you do, and so you kind of almost have to look at it like an athlete. Like you don't really want to be kind of getting things into place beforehand. You don't think of anything. You just want to just have everyone else handling that part of the backstage for you, and so you can actually, once you're ready to get on and perform, then you're at your best. I think probably at the moment you're probably doing like a lot of stuff like flat out. So it's quite incredible that you're actually doing what you're doing. So, but like you say, a lot of content is repeatable. So probably 80% probably is. So there's probably something there to go on. And then, yeah, I think you're doing the right thing, leveraging other people's talents that also are quite comfortable talking, in a live situation on the fly, encompassing that around your brand. I think you're on the right track. And you've probably done it the right way in the way you have. But now it's getting to a point where you're kind of scaling it quite significantly now, in all your channels. And I mean, Clubhouse, I've seen you grow like a lot. You're really owning Clubhouse, aren't you? So. And you leverage. I noticed you leverage other entrepreneurs and other presenters on that in the right way with your brand and your approach. And I think that's definitely the right way to go as well. So I think get a co-founder because not everyone I come across is comfortable with co-founders. Some of them just not co-founder material. But I think you've had co-founders before in the past, haven't you? So
yeah, I have. Yeah, I mean, I find co-founders to be. I really love having a co-founder. I love that teamwork spirit. I don't need to own 100% of these things. I prefer to enjoy the journey, and but it's definitely not easy to find a co-founder though. I mean, that's everyone asks all the time. I know of you and me on this podcast about how do I get a co-founder, but it's not an easy thing to do. But I personally find that maybe I have less equity, but the journey's more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would say, have you got any co-founders in mind that could jump in, or is it going to take you some time?
No, I guess I can shout out now. Anyone listening that wants to on the Purposeful Project platform and be a co-founder, a partner, I'm really open right now. I mean, I'm all about the mission on this platform, so it's really important to me to find people that care about the problem, and that'll get you through a lot of arguments. If you care about the ultimate goal, and it's not about ego, it is about making, in our case, millions of people find a job and create one for themselves, not wait for a job. That's very powerful. And I think right now, given how many people are being made unemployed, furloughs, England, for example, about to come to an end, that's going to be a scary moment, and gearing people up. A lot of people care about that, but I think it's more about that than anything else. People that really care about that mission. But anyway, Paul, we are actually now live, because otherwise I get told off by Facebook if we delay the live. So you and I are now live chatting. We are waiting for our first guest, Paul Aldridge, to come and join us. Just before I guess he arrives, while we take this moment to publicly thank you for taking time out, as you have been recently, to help our community and give advice. For some of the people listening in now that don't know who you are, would you mind just taking a minute or two just to tell the people listening what it is you do? And I've been privileged enough to sit in on some of the sessions you've been giving to our community. But for those just tuning in now, would you mind just taking a moment to share what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm founder the funding game, and the reason why I started the funding game is that after I exited my previous business quite a while ago now, ancient history, but I joined an angel network, and it's very much an old boy system in the kind of darkened rooms in Mayfair, and I realized that entrepreneurs really didn't know how to go about funding, and it was just wasting a vast amount of time trying to do it. And someone shouldn't even be looking for funding. So I decided to try and come help and guide them along. And I realized that funding is a bit of a game, such as a very stressful game. But I thought maybe I'll try and simplify it for people and try and find ways to kind of guide them up the mountain, so to speak, and avoid all the sharp bits and the dark bits and skiddy bits, and get to the top in one piece, and hopefully have a relatively high degree of entrepreneurial freedom as well, so they don't give the whole shop away. Now for about years, I've been going I've been guiding entrepreneurs through the whole system, one-to-one, group coaching with accelerators and incubators. And I'm also part of the British Library, so I put on workshops and events. And at the moment, there's an event, a regular kind of sponsored event called Reset Restart, which is totally free. And I love it. And I'm still very much passionate about it. Also, business coach, I offer business coaching for entrepreneurs once they've got funding and how to spend it. But primarily my focus is on literally just making it less stressful and simplifying the whole process for people.
So just as again, while we're waiting for Paul to log on and get his system working to join us, our first guest today that we're helping, I guess, we were just talking off air about, finding a co-founder. What's your experience with that whole? If someone like me comes and says I'm looking for a co-founder, what are your thoughts on this? What are the ways to go and find a co-founder for people listening and for me for that matter?
Well, finding a co-founder is like trying to find a husband or wife. It's like really difficult. The chemistry has to be right, your values have to be right, and you have to be on the same mission. I think it might be a good idea to, if you think you found someone, to get them to write down what they think the mission is and what they think the values is for them, and get a sense of how they think, and then do it like separately, and then share it, and then see where everyone is, and then you can see whether the mismatches, and hopefully you've got some bits that do match, and then you can join together on that. But again, chemistry has to be right, everything has to be good. I coached a lot of entrepreneurs through this, and some have gone through, for example, incubators that insist that you have a co-founder, and some entrepreneurs I come across that just are not co-founder material. They just do not want a co-founder. They wouldn't get on with a co-founder no matter what happens. That's purely a solo entrepreneur. As not like an entrepreneur as it's just them running the business, just them as the spearhead, as the main CEO. And others, they couldn't do it without another kind of CEO, a co-founder, because they're kind of missing quite a strong kind of skill set, or maybe just not their drive. They just want to be the second in command. So it's a very tricky area to go down. I wouldn't try and force it. You often get a leaning or an instinct whether or not you want a co-founder that's going to take you on the journey. If you do feel lonely doing it yourself, then maybe you should be getting a co-founder. But just be very careful about going about it. Usually the best is someone you know, or someone that is knows someone, or you can be very kind of on a mission about it and just go onto LinkedIn and try and find people that might resonate with you in your industry, which is definitely less successful. Again, it's a bit like blind dating. It's a really tricky area.
You're making me think there's a gap in the market for like a Tinder for co-founders,
Definitely.
I think to myself, before I started my own platform, I was also looking around at opportunities, and if you see a good idea, you're gonna muscle in and say, hey, would you like me as your co-founder? It's all a bit forward, isn't it?
Yes.
But there are there's some great businesses I saw before I started my own kind of platform that I thought I could definitely contribute. But it's kind of a strange thing, isn't it? Because there's no dating system for finding a co-founder. There is actually a big gap there, isn't there?
It's definitely a big gap there. Yeah, there used to be a company that used to do it many years ago, but again, I don't think they really nailed it. But they used to have these big live events where you were there to go and find a co-founder. But again, the chemistry had to be right. I don't know what happened, what the success rates were, but I don't think it was that successful. But there's definitely a Tinder. Just you could speed the whole thing up. On some platform for sure. I don't know any at the moment that do it, so it's a big problem. It really is. So it would definitely help.
The only platform I know that's doing anything like that is Entrepreneur First. I guess they have, but then they're basically matching people up. PhDs with, say, marketing people, right? And they're great. I think that's the only one I can think of that's doing anything around this match-up piece, and it is actually quite critical. I mean, of course, in the US, there's certain institutions like Sequoia that will only invest in 2 founders. They won't invest in companies with only 1 founder. They see that as too much of a risk, right? So
yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Key man insurance issues, sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, though, that statistically, sole founders actually have a better success rate. So a lot of entrepreneurs think I must get a co-founder to increase the success rates. I think the reason behind that is because, again, going back to the old the kind of marriage analogy or the partner analogy, the divorce rates on partners are actually higher than the divorce rates in a marriage. So, and when that goes apart, then it sometimes can tear the business apart. So, although you factor in the risk or the skill sets, or if one gets up, like kind of struck down by a bus, then the other one's still there. Is countered by the fact that the partners can actually split up.
Is that true? I know that. So statistically, sole founders is a better outcome statistically than having a co-founder.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I look at this. So I was just curious. I was curious to find out. Also, the statistics, and like you can always take them with a pinch of salt. But I would say from my personal,
my favorite joke, 64% of stats. It never gets old to me. But some people are like,
I believe that stat. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a fascinating one. I think personally, I know my strengths, and I mean, I think there's also a way of hiring against your weaknesses. So I always started out wanting an accountant as a co-founder, for example, because I really am not good at managing cash flow and managing. I don't enjoy it. I can actually do it. It's also about enjoyment, isn't it? But accountant, I know accountants that absolutely love that number crunching, cash flow management, figuring out what you can then free up to invest in all that sort of structural stuff, which I do not like. So you can actually hire for that. It's not always the co-founder that you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get people on the advisory board, people as any non-exec directors to fill those gaps. So someone can call not in the middle of the night, but maybe a little bit later on in the night when you're a little bit stressed and got no one to talk to about a certain issue, and they've been down that road many times. That's the sort of person you might actually have a chat with your co-founder about. But they would understand, they get that. So without having a co-founder, you could still have that kind of mastermind around you that you can tap into. So you're not lost at sea if you don't have a co-founder. Well, unless you're certain, some like we talked about, some entrepreneurs they desperately need a co-founder, but and that's then that instance you should go out, but be careful about the ones you get on board and make sure everything's in writing, because so many times I come to an entrepreneur, often when they come to the point where yes, I'd like some funding now, they come to me and I've realized that they haven't got an agreement in place with the current co-founder, and now suddenly everything's looking exciting. They're making special demands, or said, no, but I thought I was getting 50-50. I thought it was 50-50 when actually they thought it was 30-70. So and then it gets into a right mess. It's just extraordinary amount of times it happens.
Yeah, no, I've seen it also many times, and I think I actually find that businesses, when they're doing badly, everyone kind of works together and pushes through, and things are good. It's when the company's doing well that you see the most amount of problems, which is weird, isn't it? You'd be like, oh, it's working. So, they'd be happier having 30% of something that's working. You'd be happy. But actually, people want more when it's working well. So that's when it gets really tricky. The early days is easy. No one argues with each other much because they're too busy making the business work. As soon as it works, a very different dynamic kicks in. So, look, thank you so much for giving up time this evening, Paul, to help entrepreneur ecosystem. And Oliver is here. So I think we'll bring Oliver on as our first guest to tell us what he's up to and how we can help him. Hopefully this all works, no technical issues. Hello, Oliver, how are you doing?
Hello, guys. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good to see you. I'm going to get rid of my logo from your head. Hold on a second. Somehow my logo is on your head.
I could just hide it on my long hair.
Yeah, that's great branding, actually. I think I've only got, I can have a StreamYard. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Or I can give you a different color logo. I can't see. Get rid of it for some reason. Anyway, maybe I'll leave it for now. But sorry about that. Hey, listen, Oliver, why don't you share with the audience a little bit about what you're doing, and share with Paul what you're doing, and see how we can help you, what you need.
Of course. So I've been involved in the events industry, both as an organizer as well as a performing artist for 15 years now. And I see a lot of gaps. So what I've been working on the past 3 years is basically a project management tool that is specific for the event operations side of things. I'm not sure if you ever put together a birthday or a breakfast. These are already kind of a pain, but I'm talking more larger scale complex events like esports events or music festivals of 5,000 people, 10,000 people. So it's quite a big system to build, and I've been self-developing, bootstrapping it, self-funding it, me and another developer. And with COVID now, it wasn't the most fortuitous timing for actually, I launched it in March of last year. So I wasn't really able to test. So I've done kind of the complete opposite of lean startup, which, I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from actual users. I know a lot of people and I have the pain myself. So I've been having these conversations consistently throughout the last year. But essentially, it's an all-in-one, completely vertical, end-to-end solution for event management. Now, I'm building it in a way that is very modular and template-based, sort of like Airtable, right? Where you could tailor it to your needs based on what type of event you're doing, whether it's a corporate event or a tech conference or an esports/sporting event, or just a good old music festival. And with that, one of my main challenges right now is trying to identify my ICP, my ideal customer profile, as it's sort of like very broad, and I know that I can't conquer the world without first conquering my neighborhood, right? So that's kind of one of the core challenges right now, is identifying who which vertical to tackle, and I'm trying to test between 4 different verticals, which I think the product is suited for. And the second thing that I'm doing right now is raising a small family and friends round. I'm based in Brazil and Berlin, so I can be very capital efficient, hiring Brazilian talent and selling to the US and European markets. So those are kind of the two core challenges at the moment. And
okay, so with the going back to still the kind of positioning of targeting your offering. So what I usually find is that you need to basically find the market. If you've got 4 different opportunities, you ultimately need to find the one that's got the biggest pain point. The real kind of people that just need an aspirin for like a major headache rather than like a vitamin, like this is kind of a be nice to have situation. And something that is a bit more difficult to measure. So you want the people that will basically it's the low hanging fruit of your customer profile. And that's the way it usually goes when you launch anything. You find the people with the biggest need first, then the marketing becomes surprisingly easy because they're already looking for what you've got. And so then it becomes less expensive onboarding them, but then that will get thin on the ground and you have to literally climb the tree and pick the fruit out the tree in the end. But have you actually interviewed any of the potential, profiles that you've got? Have you actually had any conversations with them at all yet?
Yes. So during all this time that I've been building, I've been constantly having conversations with different verticals to try to identify, who has the most willingness to pay, who is tech resistant or not. I come from the music side of things, and usually music event organizers are quite stubborn and they don't even want to try new technology. That's why the industry is so outdated. And then if you go for something like esports, well, they are naturally closer to technology at their core, so they're more open to it. But at the same time, it's the esports industry, although it's growing very fast, is still a $2 billion industry for live events, as opposed to music pre-COVID, which is $73 billion. So it's still I would have maybe 5 or 10 publishers which are the ones doing the events. But I think the biggest challenge right now is the COVID timing, because I guess for your first 5 sales, 5 customers, you would sell for people that you actually know, right? People from your network. And currently the people in my network are not able to put together events. So that brings me perhaps to a second point is, what if I transition to a customer-facing part as well. Now that I have the back-end part of the solution, I'll give you an example. We're using StreamYard, right? So that's the end user part. We're all seeing each other. Maybe there's a chat and a networking session. And if I'm doing an online conference, I could come in here and have sessions and people can attend to it. On the back end side of things is, well, we have to set up the streaming part, and maybe there's a physical venue or a hybrid event where you have to coordinate what your team is doing and the financials and the payments and the artist schedule and stuff like that. So one idea could be to build that or to integrate other existing partners, but it's quite a challenge to tackle on two people, which is not undoable, and is definitely on my roadmap later on. It's just the timing, right? Trying to spread yourself too thin and not solving one core problem.
Totally, yeah, I totally agree. When you're selling to investors, you stick with the initial pain point, the problem you're trying to solve, and then that should saturate, get you going for the next, for example, year or two, and then you move into the future development. They want to see as a future development, where's it going to go if you were to achieve that, and that's where that would sit. In terms of the two, let's just take two markets, for example. You've got the kind of the artists that are tech resistant, as you might say. That's ultimately that. No, so this is the part that we kind of need to kind of root out. But overall, it's generally when you go into marketing, it's not a good idea to try and get into a market. You have to educate the market. That gets expensive, and then the long lead times for them jumping in marketing terms, they call them the laggards, and it's really difficult to get a startup going in that market. So you want the people to jump straight in. One of the best ways to do that, I find, is what's that?
The early adopters.
Yes, the early adopters, is to do something that is going to help them raise their hands. So, for example, you might put on an event like how to profit from your live music events, for example. So you might actually put on like a mini webinar. It doesn't matter if you make money out of it. It could be, I'd probably recommend do it free. And just see who kind of raises their hand on that, comes on the platform. You would then educate them how to, obviously a part of the solution is going to be, or not to make it a sales pitch, but you'll be giving them other tips and tricks as well to make it easy to make money off their actual live events that they've probably always struggled with, and that will actually then you start interacting with that crowd. But by the fact that they've raised their hand and joined your particular webinar under that title, under that they've attracted to that, means that is probably going to be at least a segment of your market, and then you will actually then interact with them and then understand their pain points a bit more, and then understand the demographics of those people that come to the webinar. In the end, the pattern will emerge, and that's where you need to go. And like you say, it's not that all artists will be like that. There'll be a certain, but you could probably even have some avatar around a certain type of kind of event organizer around music that is like a sub niche of that, and that's where you end up trying to dominate that particular market, and you end up being the go-to kind of solution for those people.
I think with time it would just get a bit easier, as the UK is set to open, and also the US, and there are already events happening in the world, China and other places. I just don't really have a network in those places, and some of them are harder to reach than others. Like trying to find an event in China is not so easy, but it's definitely doable. So it's just a matter of time and attempting. I guess the second point is, so I'm raising a family and friends fund now, and one of the core challenges is how to price it at this early stage, as I guess right now is the most expensive money that I could ever raise, right? No revenue. I'm a single founder, so I don't have the Stanford, Google check that some people look for, and it just comes down to how powerful my network is and how much they believe in me. So yes, I'm raising $140,000, which is not that much money, and I think I have 60 committed, 40 for sure, and I'm doing a safe, but I'm putting a cap on the safe, which is something that, speaking to other investors abroad, they're like, the whole reason why you're doing a safe is so that you don't have to price and do sort of an equity round using a safe as an instrument. Do you have some guidance regarding that? It's going to be incorporated in the US as a LLC, so it's not a C corp, which usually most investors look for if you're talking about institutional money. But do you have any guidance on navigating this process after my initial list of close friends is run out?
Yeah, so basically I would recommend keeping things dead simple. So not only that, but I mean, you're doing things the right way. I'm sure you'll have you're doing it. I know I can get a sense you're doing that good. But to return to the valuation, this is where you can come this is where you come a bit unstuck in two ways. First, you can undervalue yourself, of course. So you could say, they're family and friends, so I want to go easy on them. And then suddenly you've given quite a large chunk away, 20, 25%, and don't claim much more than that in many cases. Then you're really snookered on future rounds because you end up having a minority stake in your own company in a very quick time. And then you're going for 10%.
Yeah, maximum 10% on that raise.
10%. Okay, right. Okay, great.
So 1.4
10% for. Did you say it was 1.4 free money? And is the software, is it live at the moment? It's not live, is it?
Yes.
Is it live?
Yes. There's
How many customers you got?
0 paying customers, because one of the tricky challenges is there are not many events going on at the moment in the world. So people are like, well, this is really interesting, but I don't have any events planned at the moment. But it is in closed beta, and there is a website and.
Okay, and is that in dollars?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's great. All right, so that's probably more like in the ballpark. I'll throw it's pounds there from it, which would be a little bit steep in that for your come zone. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I mean, I'll usually go through in much more detail, but so what I was saying is that sometimes you can have a price in the early days, and then you'll end up, when you get into the more hard bit and kind of professional investors on the next round, they won't take that kind of valuation. They'll basically give you what you call a down round. Then you have to go back to your family and friends, explain to them that actually they've been oversold, and their shares will now go down on the next round, even though you seem to be doing pretty good. But I would say, without looking at what you're doing, it's probably about right. So I don't think you're over. I mean, some that I come across, like 2 million on the first round, of say 100,000, it's just like they'd probably be lucky to get it on the next round, even if things go well. So I'd say that you're on the right track with that kind of valuation.
Okay.
I've actually had a look on at your website as well, and it's and the offering that you've got. It looks really interesting. You've done a great job with it, and it solves a good problem. So I would say that it's largely scalable. As long as you build a good team around it, I would say that it's a very good opportunity for future investors and for your current ones. So I think you're giving them a fair deal. Obviously, it's a soft agreement because usually if you're going for angels, you'd have like investor approvals attached to it, like you can do all kinds of things. But I think you've got like a term sheet attached, a kind of shareholders agreement with your family and friends.
It's just a safe.
Just a safe, right? Okay. Yeah, I think you're on the right track, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, without knowing more details, but I'd really think, yeah.
Of course, I'm at 15-minute information. Where would you recommend that I possibly look for investors? I could go to AngelList or something like that, but I guess I'm just one more in the crowd since I don't have traction, track record, revenue. So should I even attempt that, or just kind of go the friends of friends, or do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, the best technique I've known, if you don't have many contacts, and I'm going to wrap up now because I know we've got another caller coming on. But that is to just curate your own list. So you would research using AngelList and LinkedIn and maybe a few other channels, and build a list of say 50 of your ideal investors, and then start reaching out to them. Sometimes you could just start reaching out to them, just ask for their advice, or just say, hey, it seems like that you're in the same space, or you understand this really well. So would you be interested in just being kept in the loop about what we're doing? And most be up for that, especially if you're doing that style. That way it reduces the risk to them, because they get a chance to get to know you and trust you over time. And then it gets much easier on the next round, that you've already warmed up this 50 investors. Yeah, and then sometimes it just takes a few emails and a couple of calls. So that's what I recommend doing as early as possible. That's probably the best way of doing this from where you're standing.
And investor updates every month or two, just showing my track record.
Yes, whenever you've got some movements, things have happened, and you've got some breakthroughs, mini breakthroughs, then yeah, you just touch base. Hey, just thought you'd be interested to know. We've done this, done that. The software is live for users now. I'm going to flip the switch and make it paid, and all kinds of things like that. Or even team members, and just short lines, brief contact points. And try and add some value to them if you can. Anything that you think they need, try and offer to them, and just nurture and grow those relationships over time, and that they will hopefully stay with you for the whole of the life cycle of that business, or even future businesses.
Yeah. All right.
Oliver, I just jump in and add to what Paul's talking about. I guess one thing I think could be good on this. And you know your business better, so to correct me if you think this is the wrong path, but people in the event business investing in his business could be a good low-hanging fruit opportunity for you.
Yes.
I know a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people that will realize and understand your pain point could be good investors. Plus, they could become clients. It could be a little bit tricky. There are two contracts there. One would be an investment and one would be a client. But there is therefore potentially a locked-in client. And I think that's what you need. If you don't yet have revenue, ideally you want a case study. Yeah. And frankly, I think it's much easier to raise money if you've got a case study or you've got some sort of traction, even if there are a lot of people that are thinking that the event space is going to come back quite big. And so with vaccines rolled out and so on, there's some huge built up demand. So that means people are going to have to mobilize quite quickly. And I think therefore could have an opportunity for you, because mobilizing won't be easy and your solution could be perfect. I've got someone in mind actually that I can introduce you to that does a big festival, and they have capital. And they might be, I can't promise, but they might be a good investor if that's the route you want to go down, because the pitfall of it,
for sure.
It's also quite a competitive industry, and the weakness of this idea in my mind is if the big person I'm thinking of invest in the business and then their competitor finds out, they might be nervous to use you, thinking that there's a competitive conflict, right? So that's something to weigh up in this idea I'm giving you, that kind of strengths and weaknesses. But I think it would be, in my view, quite an easy investment opportunity for someone. Especially if they got some sort of preferential deal on the operational side and were a client. But certainly I think then that could tick two boxes. One, your kind of, let's call it bridge financing, probably the inappropriate financing. Paul will pull me up on that terminology. But, the initial capital to take you to the next level, and then you have a client. What do you think of that idea?
I think it's great, and that's actually I'm trying to aim for. And my family and friends, I do have some contacts in the event industry, but since most of them are in Brazil, and with COVID, our currency went to shit and dropped 50% in value, then investing in dollars at the moment is quite expensive. But absolutely, I think that's a great move. And if you can make that intro, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, the way to do it, because these people are quite high profile. Send us your deck, okay, and then I'll back channel it to them, saying I think this could be interesting and test their appetite. But the other side of it is, where were you based?
I'm based between Sao Paulo and Berlin. So I'm originally Brazilian, but I moved to Berlin in 2019, and I was supposed to be there in March of 2020, and slight change of plans.
Yeah, out of interest, why the US? Why are you pushing that market as your base and your investment?
I think it's a lot easier to raise money if you have to, and even if you're talking about Brazilian investors, they all aim for the US structure, because creating a business in Brazil is a nightmare. And I looked at other places to base my business in, whether it's Estonia or Portugal or BVI and the US, and it looks like the US was the easiest pick. And also a lot of the tools are based for the US and European markets, so I guess it's just easier to run a business like that.
Yeah, it's difficult though. Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about structure so much, but I'm for thinking about outreach. But where you are based is always going to have an advantage for you, right? For example, if you're in Berlin, there's lots of events in Berlin. There's lots of event organizers in Berlin. Yeah. It's somehow local, and they can see it, right? The US tax structure is a funny old game, and if you're in the US, based in the US, I can see it. But anyway, just something to think about. I would look on Crunchbase and look at companies that are getting investment through Crunchbase in your market. You might find quite a lot of people are investing in your market. Just a tip, because I think everyone levitates to the US. You know what that means? You've got a lot of competition there. If you're going to the US, there's a lot of competition. Whereas if you go to Europe or even the UK for that matter, I'm not saying that there's less competition, but of course there kind of is from an investor seeking perspective. Those US investors are getting hit up every single day, much more than the European investors, and I think that the event space is right open. I would look at Eventbrite and who they got as in early investors. Go look at some track record companies, who they were their early investors. They did quite well out of investing in things like Eventbrite, right? It might be up their street to go to those early investors. Again, you can get all this information from Crunchbase.
Yeah, I've looked at those, and but these are usually funds, right? And I think that comes at a later stage. There might be obviously some angels.
I wouldn't make that assumption.
Okay.
I wouldn't make that assumption. I mean, worst is you reach out to them and they say it's a later stage, but good, you set yourself up for round 2, right?
Yeah, but and then you start building the relationships.
My experience is that these companies are getting in earlier and earlier, because if they don't get in early, they find it to get in late, harder to get in later. Yeah. So I don't know, Paul, if you agree with me. That's what I'm noticing lately. These bigger funds that will always like, oh, we're only Series B. They're getting in and even in seed stage. I mean, half of them are investing in whatever comes out of Y Combinator. They're investing.
Yeah, because it's getting.
So yeah, in the investment space, don't make any assumptions. But I think what Paul said is completely right. Make a list of the targets and then start approaching them. But I wouldn't rule out anybody invested in Eventbrite, whatever stage they invested in Eventbrite at. I would say are pretty good people to reach out to for your business. That's my instinct.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that, and also follow Paul's and start compiling my list and getting those investor relationships. And also I'll send you all the information that I have, a product demo, a deck, and stuff. And
send that to me if you can tonight or tomorrow, and I will send it to them straight away on back channel and see if I can get some interest out of them. Again, no promises, but I know they have appetite for this sort of thing. So there's a chance, but no promises. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Paul and Simon. It was
no problem.
A pleasure.
Oliver, you will get an email from Talia now inviting you to our community, where you can also pop in what you need if you're looking for investment, or you want advice, or you want event contacts. You can also feel free when you enter that community to make a post like that, whatever you need, and the community can help you beyond myself and Paul. Feel free to make that post when you get into that community, okay?
Amazing. Will do. Thank you so much.
All right, Oliver, see you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Have a nice one. Bye.
Thanks, Oliver.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Hi, Katie.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to meet you both.
Likewise, pleasure. Look, please, do you mind starting off just telling the people listening and Paul a little bit about what you're up to and how we can help you this evening?
Sure. So I've kind of fallen into an e-commerce business off the back of some handmade products that I was making when I was on maternity leave after having my twins. It has now actually it's ended up being from my point of view quite successful, considering it was something I kind of fell into. So I'm selling fidget toys primarily, as well as the handmade boards, which I call fidget boards. Lots of people know them as busy boards. They help young children, people with dementia, people with anxiety, etc., etc. So the fidgets are kind of then a spin-off from that. The good thing with those is that I can buy them in bulk. They're very easy to store, to manage, to get out to the customers, whereas the boards are something that I create and make. I'm now doing personalized clothing and a few merchandise bits and everything. I've set up a really lovely community of customers who buy quite regularly from me. And really where I'm wanting to take the business now is finding out how I can scale it. What's the best way of doing that? Is there some kind of process that I need to be working within to work out what I should be reinvesting into the business to make that happen?
Okay, yeah, thanks. That's brilliant and well done on the business. So, how far have you got in terms of sales? Is it relatively kind of? They don't have to say exactly. Is it under 50,000 a year, kind of on pro rata at the moment, or is it?
Yeah, easily,
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, but it's working. People are giving good feedback on it. You good social ratings or good. Are you on Trustpilot or things like that?
I'm not on Trustpilot, actually, no. I can't say that I've got any kind of good ratings in terms of Google reviews or that kind of side of it. But just from that community that I've built up, the word is getting about that my company, which is called Fiddly Bits, we do a lot of, on my lives, we talk a lot about positive mental health, all that kind of stuff. And so that has helped to spread the word about, which has drawn people to the business. So in that terms, kind of word of mouth, yes, but officially, no.
Okay, good. And so do you do any advertising at all, like any kind of paid advertising right now? Have you tested it?
I've dabbled about a little bit with Facebook, excuse me, with Facebook ads, but to be honest, it does bamboozle me. I do have a lot more to learn there to really nail that. But that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, there's that kind of thing you really shouldn't be fiddling around with if you don't know. So a lot of our founders, entrepreneurs think they should be masters at Facebook ads, but really something you probably, unless you've got like a burning passion to do, like I would definitely leave it to the experts, or even just get a freelancer or someone people per hour to fiddle around with it. And just so, but it's useful when thinking about scale. So obviously you've got that initial kind of flush of excitement and feedback and validation that is working and people like it, which is the first stage. Okay, so now outside of your own network and circle and the referrals that you're getting, can you actually scale it if you had some money from an investor? And what would you do with that money? So obviously there's several things you could automatically do. Firstly is you free up some of your time, you do what you're actually love to do, what you're really good at, that you want to do, and then you'll hire some people around you, and build that team up over time. But ultimately, you're trying to work out, have I got something that is truly scalable by doing a few little kind of experiments and seeing if you just spend a few £100 and you gave it to someone that seemed to know what they were doing, could they actually buy a customer at a sensible rate? And maybe they would be a little bit off to start with because it takes a lot of testing to do it. But once if they seem to get close to the fact that they can buy a customer, and then you could actually make a profit on maybe even on the first sale, or that there's an opportunity to sell regular products to that customer over time, which would be a lifetime value of that customer, then the investors want to see that the model actually plays out if you were to just take that seed and grow it. So with your products, is it the type of product that they might buy? Like you said, you've got quite like a range of type of products. Is so people come back and buy something else and then something else?
Yeah, I'm working quite hard to, because there's all of a sudden been quite a few copycats with my business. But a lot of these people are a lot younger than me, and they're getting in kind of the norm products that you would expect to see. So I'm working hard to try and have unique products, something that's a little bit different, and I'm not getting a lot in bulk, so that when it runs out, I then move on to something else. So I'm keeping a little bit of I don't know what's the word, mystery and a bit of excitement around it. So that's kind of where I've taken it and steered away from doing the norm. But I'm running at about I've got about between 15 and 20 different products at the moment.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, the old so obviously what you want to steer away from, what you are doing really well, is that you want to stay away from the commodity type of business. So someone can produce the widget for the same price or cheaper. So you're doing the right thing. You're building an experience around it rather than the widget experience. So that comes down your particular approach, your approach, your ethos, your personality will be interwoven into the DNA of the company and its products, and that's your start to do. That's what you need to continue doing, so that that's what investors will also be investing in, and the way that you can scale the company without. You'll get competition, but people will sense that it's not exactly the same as your ones. Something's missing, like almost an X factor. I had a client a while ago that she'd had this business called, still called Tidy Book, still growing nicely, and she does bookcases for children. And you would have thought that's quite an easy thing to replicate, because she just does basically wooden kind of book holders for kids, outside of the usual, kind of IKEA style. And but anyway, she sold really well. People loved it. She sold it through mail order, and then the business grew and grew. And interesting, she really knocked out the competition, because it's quite easy to replicate that. But her experience, it was the whole ethos. It came through every part of her brand. Everything was carefully sourced and delivered. Everything was high quality. So she's never really being knocked out by the competition that way. She's kept her own, and this is like, obviously, just carry on doing what you're doing in that sense. The other thing, with all the products you're doing quite a lot of products for an early stage company, and usually the 80-20 rule applies. 20% of those products will produce 80% of the results. Are you finding that to be true on some of them?
Yeah, so I tend to only choose things that I'm kind of working at least 40% revenue. Because that's my dad back in his days. He sadly passed away now, but that's what I would always hear him say about 40%. Never do anything less than 40%. So that's my bare minimum. But some of them I'm getting back a good 80 to 90. So yeah, some of them are doing good, but then where some copycats have copied me and they undercut me, that's where it's stinging me a little bit. But
Right.
But I think the other thing is that I'm kind of getting a name now for quality products as well. So I've not dropped my prices or anything. I'm kind of sticking to my guns to try and show that you are buying quality rather than just.
That's great. Definitely the way to go on that. And so over time, and maybe you're still kind of early days, but in the end, you just want to be quite ruthless, dropping the ones that don't work out. The margins drop. There's quite a difference between 80 and 40%, and obviously that's where you want to put your energies and time, because obviously the wider, like you're finding, the wider gross margin you've got, the more marketing spend you're going to have. If you've got low margin products, then you're going to easily be constantly badgered by the competition and on a knife edge on your cash flow. So 80% gross profit margin is fantastic. So that really helps you weather any storm, and could try different channels out for marketing. So yeah, my biggest tip is to try and find some kind of algorithm for marketing, and then just do these little tests and find out. It might not be Facebook, for example. It might be Google Ads. It might be some other, might be Pinterest. But just find your channel, and that'll be your main channel for probably the next 12 months. So try to really make sure you can get a good return on investment on that channel, and really track it. And if it proves that you could make a profit on the first, let's just say that you make it cost you that customer from that channel, and you make say £6 profit from that, then obviously you can keep doing that. It's like having a vending machine keeps paying out.
Yeah.
Or it might actually break even first, but that customer's going to keep coming back. The lifetime value of a customer is going to be £30 or £40, maybe way more, hundreds of pounds. Then you've got a system that's going to work. Now all you need is more money and a process behind it, and it'll change over time. It won't be rigid, but it's a really good starting place. So that's what I try and figure out the marketing algorithm behind what you're doing, and build a team around that.
Okay. And that's where I should be steering my money primarily, to then use that to scale and move forwards after 12 months.
Yes. Yeah. Just experiment with that element. And then you've got a story to take to either you just know to use whatever resources you've got to put the money there, or you go out and get investment and just scale what you've got. And there's loads more to it, but I'm just trying to get into the biggest win that you can have here from what you've got.
Yeah, no, that's really good. You've given me so many ideas for me to go and power on with. That's brilliant.
Katie, can I just oh, sorry, Paul. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I just kind of again adding to what Paul said. Katie, are you on TikTok with these products?
Yeah, so I've popped up on your lives quite a few times. You always say, "Hi, Fiddly."
Oh, okay. Now I know. Yeah,
That's
I just remember. Okay, yeah, because I think someone just said it on my live stream on TikTok as well. So just credit to them. But I do think this sort of thing must be very popular on TikTok, and the organic reach on TikTok right now is phenomenal, and it's free, and no one can really buy it. So I mean, there is advertising, of course, but I do think that's quite. So is it working for you as a channel?
Absolutely. TikTok's been a game changer completely. In 5 months, I've gone from no followers to I'm about to hit 100,000.
Right.
Primarily, first off, maybe the first 50,000 was because of the boards, and the rest of it has come really quickly because of the fidgets and the merchandise and everything else that I'm doing. And the positive mental health stuff behind that as well, because we're in an age where that matters to everyone now. So that just, I'm using that as well to reinforce my brand. So it's been an absolute game changer. It's been brilliant.
Yeah. Good, well done. I definitely that struck me as the right approach. On the link in your bio, I haven't checked, but where do you send the traffic that comes to you from TikTok?
It goes to my website, which I use Wix to build.
Right. And on that website, which I haven't checked, sorry, but on that website, do you have a join my mailing list?
Yes.
Is it prominent?
I could probably do a little bit more with it. I've been hearing some kind of conflicting things about not annoying customers with a great big pop-up in their face as soon as they hit the website, and maybe having it a bit discreet. So I did have that. And I've now made it, it's all over my website, but it's a little bit more discreet. What do you guys think is the best way?
Yeah, no, I mean, pop-ups are annoying, but if you bring value, it's okay. So if people are interested, they've clicked through to your website. What I'm thinking is a lot of people are not connecting with the audience that come to their website. So someone might go to the website, not see a product they like, and leave, right? But then they don't know you've got another 4 products about to hit the system. And then the next video, they might not see it, and then you've lost them. So if you, for example, the pop-up company, we give away, 5 fidgets every week. Drop your email in here, and we you could be a winner. Then it's not annoying, and the people have gone there. I mean, I don't know. I'd look at your analytics. I bet you've got a lot of drop-off because with a product turnover like yours, yeah, exactly. You're going to get good traffic, but you're losing those people because. So I don't think not necessarily a pop-up, but just any value. Or I mean, on my website, I just have my join my main list quite high up on the so you see it on the first page. And I try to put value in there, right? That if you join, there's value, and but then you actually you can communicate with that 100,000 people. You're not relying on the algorithm on TikTok, which is random. To reach those people, right? So little tweaks like that could be huge. Plus on TikTok now they're doing Spotify, right? They've launched a Spotify channel. Have you seen that?
I haven't, no.
Yes, there's a new feature which they've just done a partnership with Spotify, which allows you to, of course, sell through their system. People. I'm now want to Gemma Lee on my feed now also saying it, so I just want to give credit to other people that are saying similar things to me. But that could definitely be an interesting one for you to apply to your TikTok. Yeah. Are you verified?
I'm not. No.
Yeah, so try to go through the verified process, because that will add credibility between you and your competition, right? Yeah. So just little things, every little tweak gets you further away from those copycats. And if you're verified, trusted,
can you request that? Can you?
So it's a bit tricky. Yes, you can. You can, but the only way to do it is you need a little bit of luck, which, by the way, I think is a very important ingredient to anyone's success, including mine. I was very lucky, but you need to test your luck, right? So you just email TikTok via their website, and then and you explain that you need to be verified and that you want to use Shopify, which they're really keen to make work. Yeah. And you may or may not get a reply, but you got to try. I just got verified, so I tried it and took about 6 months. But you know, it's definitely going to be one more little thing. And I think what Paul said earlier is quite right. If you can focus in on one platform and make it work, I think for you, my instinct is all the other channels are a little bit saturated. But Fidget do well in TikTok. Just, you know, get better and better and better at marketing through TikTok. Don't do the same videos all the time. Mix it up. When new audience come to the platform, bring value. Maybe do competitions. Bring some celebrities to fidget with it. Do some collaborations with other TikTok influencers, right? And then if they've got Shopify stores, let them, you know, do affiliate models. You know the affiliate model?
Not really, no.
Okay, just Google it because we don't have time for it now. But you know, Google the affiliate model, and basically it's where other influencers can promote your product. They get a percentage of sales, right? They promote it to their network, and it's all pretty cool. I think from everyone wins perspective, right? So
yeah.
But I think if I was you, I'd double down on TikTok. I would do collaborations with other TikTokers. You can go through the TikTok partnership scheme. Now you're 100,000, aren't you? I think that allows you to be part of the corporate sponsorship program. Have you seen that?
No.
All right. You need to go and apply for that too. Over 100,000 followers, you get access to their corporate sponsorship program. Now, I think I'm actually thinking about it for you in the reverse. So they allow you to get access to their community, and then you can literally just pick the top 10 people who talk about toys, and send them an email through the TikTok system saying, would you like to be an affiliate partner with my products, right? Okay. And so anyway, I mean, there's so much to it. And if you get really, really good at TikTok, I think that will also give you a differential from your competition, because they said probably spreading themselves thin on all the social media platforms. And I mean, I'm on TikTok and I don't do any fidgeting at all, but I just know that community and it's entertaining, and you'll do well.
Yeah, you should get one of these pens. This is one of them. Hold on. It's got switches and
all right, I need one. Yeah, I want one. See, I just feel like that. But there's a few people, and this is again, sorry, going on a bit, but there is a couple of people doing really interesting things in like sweets, right? There's one called Sweet. They'll be on my feed in a minute. If you're listening, the Sweet folks, what should come up on my feed?
Is it these guys?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Exactly. So doing a collab with them, for example, then you're not competitors.
Yeah.
Following around that stuff, I reckon both communities would buy both products. So, you know, you could jump into their feed and vice versa. I have Mark Tilbury listening in right now. Mark Tilbury has 6.3 million followers on TikTok.
I know Mark.
And I've done collabs with him. He's promoted me, promoted him, right? So, you know, I think that just getting fidgeting with your product during one of his broadcasts, right? Hundreds of people say, "What are you doing with that? What is that pen?" Right? So I go really, 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 really big on TikTok.
Okay.
I feel like I work for TikTok now, but I work.
It's just so amazing, though, isn't it? The reach that it gives you is just unbelievable.
Exactly, and then, you know, Facebook. Don't get me wrong. I think there's also, and I agree with what Paul said earlier as well. Just to reiterate, if you're going to go do Facebook ads, just get an expert in to do it, and be done with it. But I don't actually think you need to. No. I think if you're selling a course or you're selling something boring, then that stuff, it doesn't do well on TikTok. But what you're doing is so relevant. I just really good at making TikTok videos.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. I'll love you and leave you then. Thank you so much, both of you, for all of your advice.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
It was great. Yeah. So, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And this broadcast I'm doing now will also be on YouTube and stuff. So feel free to share it just in case, you know, people hear your story and want to buy from you just to support you. That also happens.
Oh, amazing. That's great. Fantastic.
Right. Pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.
Paul, I want to thank you as well for coming on this evening, again, giving your time and advice and knowledge. I appreciate it. I know the community you've helped appreciate it, and the people listening definitely appreciate it because they're leaving me messages saying you're great. But thanks, Paul, for your time.
Thank you so much, Simon. And it's great what you're doing. Really, just keep it up. It's fantastic. Really, you give people so much value. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I couldn't do it without talent like you joining. So thanks so much, Paul. Have a wonderful evening. Okay.
Yeah, and you. Take care.
That's our broadcast for today, folks. We have a new podcast coming out on Friday at 12 noon on these channels wherever you're listening to this now. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the alarm bell. We have Maria Hatsani, who is a founder of an incredible cosmetic brand, hundreds of millions in sales. She built it from scratch. She's going to tell us how she did it, how she did the marketing, how she built the brand. And I think you're going to be blown away. So Friday, don't miss out. We'll be back tomorrow. We have 4 entrepreneurs that we're helping again tomorrow. So feel free to, again, hit subscribe, hit the alarm bell so you don't miss it. If you have any questions about business and you want our help, feel free to leave a comment. We will get back to you. In addition, if you want to come on to the podcast and have help, support from myself, and talent like Paul, then feel free to go to thepurposefulproject.com and sign up. Let me just put that up on the screen so that it's nice and clear. Make sure, where is it? Here we go. So it's up on screen, thepurposefulproject.com. So you can register on there. If you need any help, you can join the mailing list. I know a lot of folks from TikTok who are listening in right now. I know a lot of you folks ask me questions in the comments and I don't reply to them all because I can't keep up. So what I've been trying to do is, especially for questions that are complicated, that aren't easy to answer in the comments, because again, in things like TikTok, we have a limited amount of space to answer very complicated questions like how do I raise money? And so we put this show on. We do these live broadcasts to do 2 things. One, help you as an individual and get the answers to questions that you have and give you a meaningful answer that gives you, how-to knowledge on getting things done. But also it gives you a chance to listen in to other people's questions and ask the things you didn't know to ask and get those answers at the same time. So if you've got any value out of the broadcast this evening, do me a favor and hit the share button, hit the like button. Let the algorithm know this content is useful. It makes a huge difference to the algorithm, which ultimately means this content that we produce every single day for free to help people start a business of their own or make sure they don't feel alone building their business. This content gets to them. So, I am competing with people that are selling this information. I'm competing with people that are charging people for courses that don't work. So I really would appreciate a like and a share. It does make a huge difference to what we're doing, and it allows our content to reach more people and be helpful to more people. So I'd be grateful for that. That's it. Let me know what you thought of tonight's broadcast, and if there's anything we can do to help you, reach out. Have a wonderful evening.